Flyers radio analyst Steve Coates joins us as the Flyers kind of sweatwalked through their first game after the All-Star break the other night, and Mark Streit had said it was a devastating performance. We just weren't ready, Coatesy. I guess watching that game, you would concur with Mr. Streit that they were certainly not ready to get out of that All-Star break. And Andrew McDonald said real dismal effort on all fronts. That seemed to be the theme in Carolina. Well,
if you're gonna have a stinker, you might as well do the best possible job you can. And I say that in humor. I mean, it's really disappointing because I thought that was going to be the stepping stone to begin this track to make the playoffs. And please, I'm not saying it's not still possible. It's one game, but it's not the kind of thing that makes you feel warm and fuzzy when you see them come off another break. Now, in saying that, nobody knows, because we don't have a track record on this, how a team is affected. We always get a kick out of, or we always say the fact that when you come off a 5-day road trip that you're going to play really poorly in your first game home. If you're off a week, you're not going to play very well. Well, nobody knows how you're supposed to play after having a week off, coming back and playing a few games, and having another 4 days off, and then going back to play. That's not an excuse. They should have been a lot better that night. But, boy, did they ever – I mean, they did everything completely wrong that night. I mean, to have a lack of shots, especially from the forwards, in a game against the Carolina Hurricanes team that was really obviously very prepared. They're in the same type of hunt as the Flyers are for that last wild card. It was a really disappointing night, especially when Steve Mason came up with a couple of big saves, and it still went for naught.
To your point, Steve Coates, they managed just 6 shots in the first 50 minutes of the hockey game, and only one of them by a forward. So it looks like today, if the reports are correct, that the Flyers are going to make a couple of changes. Ghost and Konechny are going to be out. Weiss and Schultz in. The moves that they're making, speed for experience?
Oh, I don't think – well, I guess you could put that into the equation. I think that you could bring a guy in like Schultz. He's a stay-at-home type defenseman against a very, a defensive or an offensive team like the Montreal Canadiens. Maybe when you take a look at the numbers, Gostisbehere is a number minus 19 right now in plus-minus, which is the worst in the league and the worst of the team. So that doesn't bode well when you're looking to try to keep pucks out of your own end, and Ghost is just not having a very good year. That's the bottom line. Konechny, when you got a look at Konechny, he had the real bad giveaway the other night, and that's just part of the learning experience. When I say that, he has made a couple of mistakes. This one turned into a goal, so it becomes like a spot on a tie. But the learning experience is making the mistake and understand why you're sitting out a game, to sit and watch and understand what you have to do, that doesn't happen again. Because when you're into the stretch like this and you need the wins, you need to be able to get the points, you can't have mistakes like that. And this team is very, very prone to this giveaway in their own zone and in the neutral zone.
Coatesy, a lot of these, Gostisbehere, I think Pete mentioned he'll be a healthy scratch again. It seems that he's just kind of spinning the wheel, and whoever it lands on, all right, you're a scratch tonight, you're a scratch. Is that frustrating for the players? I mean, is this kind of like, hey, am I going to be active tonight? What are they going to do with me? Do you think that's a good precedent, or do you think a guy like Gostisbehere and some of the others that seem to be on this wheel that it's warranted that they sit out?
Every player is a different personality when it comes to accepting the thought process of having to sit out a hockey game. No professional player at any level in any game wants to sit out. But the world today, because of the systems and because of caps and movement of players, basically it's the only way to get to a player. It's the only way. The other thing to look at is that when you have a 23-man roster and you can only dress 20, that's what the NHLPA says, that, you've got to have this many people on your roster, then you've got to take a look at who you want to play. You've got to play your best players. Well, how do you decide that? Well, your best players are going to play, and the guys that are not playing on a day-to-day basis are the ones that are going to sit. And that's just the way the system works. It's more glaring now as it was when I played, because back in the day, you could send a guy to the minors. You can't send the guy to the minors anymore. You got to clear waivers, and that's just not possible because you'd lose a good player. But those days you could do that. And plus, you didn't have as many players. So it was a little bit of a different situation. It's part of the way the game's played, and the players certainly can't take offense to it because this is the way that your business works, and this is what you do for a living.
Steve Coates with us, the Flyers radio analyst. Yes, the second time that Travis Konecny a healthy scratch, the third time for Gostisbehere. Now, you talk about Coates, back in the day and how the game is played now versus how the game was played then. Watching that Carolina game the other night, there were a couple questionable hits. McDonald got elbowed to the head, and then Jeff Skinner put a stick right in the mouth of Manning. And back in another era, maybe, Coates, the Flyers would have jumped all over those guys. Today's NHL is different. Were the Flyers, did they give an answer in your mind, or did that light your fuse a little bit?
Well, times have changed, Pete. And the number one thing is that the responsibility to stick up for your teammate is still there, but not to the degree it was. Because now, I'll give you a perfect example. Back in the day, if you were disciplined, in other words, you got a penalty during a game, and on top of that, you were disciplined, like you got a 5-minute major or game misconduct or anything like that, but you did it in an aggressive way. In other words, you were in a fight or you did something to protect a teammate. It had something to do with the team, and it was a positive for the team. Then when the fines came, the team would pay your fine. That was part of the deal. That was, I don't remember what day or what year when it stopped, but the league got a hold of that and said, no, you're not going to reward people for doing that. So now you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, because when you do something that's out of character on the ice, which you think is the right thing for your teammate, you're the one that's going to pay the freight. And you're the one that's going to be disciplined, and you might actually get disciplined by your own team according to what the rhythm of the game is that time. So it's really tough. The other way to look at it, too, is the game has changed in such a way where these kids aren't seeing what we had seen in the past. They're taught or tried to be taught that this is what you got to do to defend one another, that you all have the same logo and you have to do that for your teammate. But the league is kind of pushing on the other side. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And I think that has a lot to do with why there's no respect on the ice and why there's probably more injuries, because guys take a lot more shots. If you understand that there's going to be retaliation, you'd be less likely to take that shot. But now they get away with it. The one with Skinner was a little bit of a loose stick. That should have been just a penalty call. That should have been a call. The one on Manning, yeah, maybe, but at the time of the game, sometimes there's times to go and times not to go.
Hey, Coatesy, I'd be remiss without getting your opinion on how much you've seen mature and change in Wayne Simmonds. He wins the MVP of the All-Star game. There was an article, I guess a column Sam Donnellan wrote, I thought it was pretty cool. We had Chuck Gormley on the other day. He echoed it, that Simmonds has essentially become who they wanted Mike Richards to be. And he was the secondary piece in that Mike Richards trade. It's kind of come full circle, and you've watched it all.
I apologize, but you said, who said that he was what Mike Richards was going to be?
That Wayne Simmonds has kind of become who they had hoped that Mike Richards would be for the Flyers. Of course, they moved on from Mike Richards, and they ended up getting Schenn was the guy they wanted in that deal, right? Oh. He was the guy.
Right.
And Simmonds has kind of become who they had hoped Richards would have been still if he was still here.
I don't disagree with that. I think that they thought Mike Richards was going to be another Bobby Clark. He had all the mannerisms. He had the work ethic. He had he'd been a winner, a junior. So, yeah, I would think that when you take a look at Wayne Simmonds, he has definitely grown into the position. As many in the organization have said, he truly is a Philadelphia Flyer. When you think of a Philadelphia Flyer, you think of a guy that gives you a work ethic every time he's out on the ice. He plays the game with a work ethic that doesn't matter where he's going to go, he's going to play it in the right way. In other words, he goes to all the dirty areas. He'll drop his gloves when he has to defend himself or his teammates. He's just a prototypical, what I call a hockey player. And we have a lot of guys still that are hockey players that you visualize in your mind that you'd want to have on your team. And Wayne Simmonds is an absolute prototypical Philadelphia Flyer hockey player.
Steve Coates with us. Coatesy, it's captain's night tonight, so hopefully a better effort out of the Flyers tonight as they are home with the Montreal Canadiens. Lou Angotti, Bobby Clark, the aforementioned Clarkie, Bill Barber, Dave Poulin, Eric Lindros, and Chris Pronger all going to be saluted tonight. We will see how the Flyers do against Les Habitants.
Oh, I didn't know you were bilingual, Pete.
That's merci beaucoup.
Don't get out of hand. Time to go.
And by the way, Coatesy, we all wish you a speedy recovery, pal. We miss you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. With any luck, I can get out of this cast next Wednesday and get back to work next Thursday. It'll be a long haul as far as walking. I mean, not walking, but rehab. But I'm looking to get out of this. This has been a long 8 days so far, but I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, Timmy does a great job, but they need a little color. He needs a little color, man. A little fun. Take care, pal.
My wife wants me to get out of here too, so I appreciate it.
Hey, anytime she wants you to come on out, you can come over and hang out with us. All right, we're here every day from 2 to 6 in the East. But
all right, I'll be over tomorrow. I'll put my feet up on the desk, and that'll be fine.
All right, pal. We'll see you then. Take care. Steve Coates here for the Flyers Radio Network.